Welcome to Permission for Pleasure, where we empower women to create liberated empires anchored in leadership harmony in service of your highest mind, body, and soul wellness. I am your host, Amy Jones, and in today's episode, we will be connecting with Christalle Dalsted, a spiritual healer and coach. So after going through her second spiritual awakening in 2021, Christalle decided to majorly shake up her life by quitting her government job, moving to Mexico, and starting her coaching business. So today, Christalle helps others who need guidance and support through their awakening. She specializes in trauma release using Theta Healing techniques, manifestation coaching, and goal setting and strategy to help improve clients' lives. I love, love, love this. I am so excited to connect with you. I want to dive into all of this. And so, yeah, we're going to talk for 30 or 40 minutes, and we're going to share with our listeners your empowering personal journey of mind, body, soul wellness, anchored in leadership harmony. Christalle, welcome.
Thank you. Thank you for that nice welcome.
You're most welcome. So to kick off our conversation, I would love to hear what has inspired you to share your story with our listeners today.
So, as you said in your introduction, I went through my second spiritual awakening in 2021, which actually made me recognize my first spiritual awakening in 1996.
Wow.
I suffered a traumatic childhood, and all throughout my life, I was really unaware of how much this affected me in my adult life. And it wasn't until I went through that second spiritual awakening and started to look for resources to support me that I discovered Theta Healing and mindset work and other things around that really helped me. And so I want that for other people. I want to create a community of healing, of support, and wellness, just to empower other people and just to let them know that there are other ways. There are alternatives to healing, and I want to introduce that to people.
I totally feel you. And I went through my first awakening, I want to say it was 7 years ago. I'm thinking 2016, 2017. And I had done counseling and therapy for years, but I always felt like I was putting a band-aid on things, like never getting under the surface. So I totally feel you that when you can get under the surface and move that energy, that's where the deep wellness comes from. And it's really empowering. And I honor you for walking this path for yourself first and paying this forward. It's very, very powerful.
For sure.
Sorry, I just heard my husband's car turn on as I said that. So we'll take that as a message. So can you explain for our viewers what exactly Theta Healing is?
So Theta Healing is a spirituality based healing modality that focuses on utilizing the theta brainwave in like a meditative state. And when we're in this altered state of consciousness, this is where we can reach things that are underneath the surface you may not be able to reach during just a back and forth conversation. So when you are able to reach this altered state of consciousness, you might be able to dig deeper into discovering situations that contributed to some of the beliefs that you have in your life that are kind of hindering you from making progress. And in that altered state, you're able to release and kind of download empowering beliefs to get you set forward on a better path.
Yeah, and what I'm hearing with that is I really had to learn how to bring safety into my world, and trauma creates varying degrees of PTSD. I know I've experienced it from things that I've gone through in my own level. But it was really important for me to create safety within myself, because that leads to trust to go where you might be really uncomfortable to go, because that's where the healing is really going to gift you that release that you need. But if you can go slow and just really regulate your nervous system as you're doing this. And
Mhm.
it's the whole like tortoise and the hare. We come from a society of instant gratification, but if you do something super fast, you're going to skim the surface and you're going to miss. And you're also not going to get the same richness of that experience or that
Mhm.
healing. And going into that subconscious allows you to kind of let a little bit of your like armor down, I would say, because you only go to the level that you feel safe to go,
Mhm.
right? And if you're in control, you're safe, and you allow yourself to go deeper and heal things that maybe in like a conscious conversation you wouldn't even know existed,
Right.
or you'd be too scared to bring up, or it would cause too much resistance. And like my whole body is just like so many tingles are going through my body right now as I say this, which is validating for me that this is my truth. And I really had to learn how to bring safety into my world. So subconscious healing is so powerful.
Mhm.
So powerful because that's how you get to that energy that you don't even know is like leading you forward.
Mhm.
And yeah, so I love this. I don't know if you have anything to add to that, or if that's your experience or
Yeah, for me with Theta healing, it was like, I'm the type of person that like dives into things before like doing a ton of research on them. Which I think maybe that's my way of staying safe, because if I really
maybe.
knew
Yeah.
what it was gonna do, then maybe it wouldn't have worked. It would have been more like placebo effect, or
Yeah.
maybe I would have been too afraid to do it. But from like the first moment, or the first session with my theta healing journey, I could just feel like the trauma being lifted, like physically from my body.
You
And
just
so,
know, like,
mhm,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah, it was just remarkable. And I know that some of the reason it worked so well for me, I've been told like my soul was ready, where I was at in like my own spiritual journey.
Mhm.
But I was really ready to do the work too. So,
And I think that that is so key because, yeah, like, you have to be ready. And it's like, "I wanna let it go. I wanna surrender." Like, I totally hear you, but it's gonna happen when it's ready to happen, and
mhm,
you're where you're at for a reason. And so trying to skim over to get to the next thing, you're just gonna go back and revisit that. And so
mhm,
fortunately or unfortunately, this is an invitation to really slow down. Like I just sort of picture like turbines like stopping to a screeching halt and just being aware of where you're at and asking yourself, why am I here? What is
mhm,
this what is this gifting me in this moment that I'm needing to receive? Because when you can shift from, I don't want to feel it, I want to get away from it, to, okay, there's something here for me to receive and to learn, there's so much power in that. And
yeah.
I love how like you dive in and then I'm like this, because everybody's got their own fight or flight trauma response, and you don't even realize until you start to see it. And then when you see your patterns, you can know what works with you and what doesn't.
Mhm.
And I love that we both experienced this from our lens and it still works. Like it's so powerful. Ah, love it. So, what major obstacles have shown up for you on your path to success?
Yeah, I recently started my business, so
Mm.
I think imposter syndrome is the number one thing. I come from a highly educated family, a lot of PhDs, a lot of education, and so I think coming into like kind of a mental health space, even though I'm not saying I'm a counselor, I'm not saying I'm licensed, has been a big challenge for me. Just that feeling of like, who do you think you are? Helping people with their mental health without that formal education, even though I am certified. So that's a major challenge. Um, just looking at like the coaching industry as a whole, there's like a lot of competition out there. So finding my niche has been kind of an obstacle as well. And I think I'm still fine tuning that to this day, and probably will be for a long time. I think I'll always be evolving in what I can offer as a coach as I grow and as I learn and as I progress with my experience in education.
So how do you feel about the concept of you being your niche? Like, there is
Yeah,
no niche, but you're your niche. And with
yeah, absolutely.
everything you've gone through,
Mhm.
that's who you're here to serve.
Exactly. And I think that's kind of where I'm at. Every time I get a new client, it's like looking in the mirror with someone who is just maybe one step behind me that's almost there. They just need that guide to push them through. So I think like you are your niche is like a very cool concept and something that's probably not brought up as much as that should be in this industry.
Yeah. I struggled with this myself as well. 20
Mhm.
in corporate, competitive world, competitive family. I also, like you, like I come from a family of doctors and lawyers, and I was in sales.
Uh,
I loved what I did, but I was, a little bit of the black sheep. And and then I transitioned into my corporate career and I'm like, okay, well, let me do what I'm told because I don't know what I was doing. And I realized I am my niche because everything that I'm gone through is here to pay forward. And it's the concept of paying it forward. Like you just said, you just having to be like one or two steps ahead of the next person. It's like you've got a lantern and you're kind of like leading down the path. If you're too far ahead, your audience isn't even going to connect with you.
right.
And it's also a little bit of a mind fuck when you think when you're a couple steps ahead, well, I can't possibly know enough to teach somebody. I have to be this much more. And then that's like the ego coming in. No, 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 no. You need to be doing XYZ and be doing this. And it really literally is just, hey, I've done this. I've learned this. Would you like to learn how so that you don't have to take as much time as it took me? Yes or no? No, no problem. Yes, amazing. Here. And it takes the pressure away because it's literally like you're helping a community go through the experience in a more pleasurable way than we went through it.
Right,
I'm
exactly.
okay with. So what lessons have you learned as a result of going through all of these transitions? Like so much has shifted in your life in the last few years.
Oh man. I think I've learned that regulating the nervous system is something I've recently been learning about in the last year. And I made so many changes, like all at the same time, that I had to give myself a lot of breaks to regulate all the new changes in my life. I mean, I went from working full time, having my own house, living in a city that I was very familiar with, hanging out with all the same people all the time, to living with family, living in a different country, not speaking the language, not having a job. And so, catching up from all of that has been a huge challenge. Do not recommend it to anyone, or
You just
maybe I
jump
do.
right in, hey?
Yeah. Um, so learning how to find peace in like chaos has been a huge lesson. Also, like the concept of not being able to skip any steps has been something I've learned. Like the trust the process thing is so important because this process I've been through is going to teach me all the lessons I need moving forward in life. It's teaching me strength. It's teaching me like how to trust my intuition, how to listen to my inner voice, um, and how to regulate myself in chaos and still survive and thrive.
Yeah. Tell
Mhm.
me more about nervous system regulation. Like this is something I am so passionate about now, but if we talked about this a few years ago, I may have heard the word but not really understood it. I'd love for you to share the value of this. Um,
Like the concept.
yeah, just having leadership of this and ownership, and what does it actually do for somebody, and why is this so important for somebody to have an understanding of how to regulate their nervous system?
Yeah, I think for me, just I think it was maybe halfway through this year I realized I was in fight or flight mode. And
Mhm.
that's where I was operating from. And if you're in that state, you're probably not creating the best content for your business. You're not showing up in the best way for yourself, for your friends, for your clients, for anyone. So, really getting clear on your safe zone, your comfort zone, and then being able to stretch that in ways that still feel safe is very important for me. So this looks like taking breaks, resting when needed, recognizing triggers, coming up with ways to really raise my vibration. And for me, like, really, what really helps is not looking at social media to get the dopamine hits, getting the dopamine from natural resources like completing things on my checklist or being in nature, and just coming up with ways to feel peaceful and happy, even like in the worst of days.
Yeah, I totally feel that. What do you appreciate most in your life right now? What brings you the most joy?
The close relationships I have with friends and family.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And what is it specifically about the close relationships that you appreciate the most?
The support, like the unconditional love and support that I feel with these individuals in my life.
Did you always have that?
I want to say I did, but I wouldn't say it was unconditional. There was always like those relationships where there was something expected,
Yeah.
um, and the energy exchange was not as fluid.
So what do you mean by energy exchange? Some people might not know what you mean.
Yeah. So I feel like when you have a relationship with someone, there should be, let's say you're providing emotional support for a friend. Well, maybe they provide marketing tips for you. So there's like an even like exchange of conversations or guidance or something. A lot of times I would have relationships where I would give a lot and not receive anything. So it's kind of like about, and it's not always even, right? But there has to be some sort of um, exchange of energy to make the relationship authentic, really.
Yeah. And so how do you physically feel, emotionally as well, but how do you feel when you know the energy exchange is off, when it doesn't feel like a fair trade? How do you feel?
I feel like apprehensive. Um, I had a relationship in the past where this friend of mine would ask me to hang out and I would like freeze and be like, I don't want to go, I don't want to go, I don't want to go.
And did you?
And I did, and I went anyways.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And now would you go?
No.
And isn't that incredible? It's such a micro shift. It's like when you're younger and your parents are like, "Come on, come to Aunt such and such's house." And you're like, but you go because you're like 8 and you can't not stay home. And it's funny how you don't realize just little things like this compound and you realize, wait a minute, like I'm not taking leadership of me. And I love that you said that this made you feel kind of like this. And so now you're at a choice point. Do I honor myself or do I honor um, the routine, the history? Because this is when you get a chance to make pivotal changes.
Mhm.
And I love that you're honoring yourself now. That is so powerful.
Yeah.
And so how do fair, equal energetic exchanged relationships make you feel physically now?
Um, I would say they make me feel like a lot of gratitude and like validated. Like my choices are leading to bringing this energy into my life,
Mhm.
and I just feel like whole with these relationships.
Do you feel energized?
Yeah,
Yeah.
having conversations with these individuals makes me feel like energized and
Yeah.
um, creative.
Yeah, I feel the exact same way. Like I can tell when like it's almost like somebody's plugged into like a gas pump and they're just like siphoning my energy.
Hmm.
Um like it's like an overflow. And you also have an intuitive knowing that you're giving and it's
Hmm.
And so the more of that equal balance you can have, that's like really the difference, at least in my perspective, between attachments and connections.
Mhm.
And one is powerful and one is less powerful. And yeah, it's really the birthplace of a really harmonious relationship where everybody thrives. It's beautiful.
Yes, I
So
feel lucky to have those relationships.
do you?
Lucky,
What's
yes.
that?
Lucky and blessed.
Yes. But it wasn't always this way. You had to like learn and have the awareness and move into it. And it just feels so more fulfilling now on
Mhm.
both on everybody's parts.
Yeah.
Yeah. So what are you most passionate about right now? What's going on in your world?
Yeah, and I mean, I'm just starting my business recently, so I'm really passionate about, finding the individuals who are just 1 to 2 steps behind me, who are kind of coming into their awakening, looking for a community, looking for a safe space, and looking for a guide to help them move through this with, a little bit more ease than I did. So I'm really passionate about that. I'm also really passionate about just sharing as much knowledge as I can with my community and just empowering people.
I love it. Like it's just, yeah. I'm right there with you.
Mhm.
So where do you see yourself going? Like 5 years from now, if you could look back and you're like, oh my gosh, I've done all these things. Like what does your world look like in the next few years?
I think I always wanna have the one-on-one container for my coaching clients, whether it's just a few times a year or all the time. I wanna continue that, and I want it to be affordable. I wanna have, like, digital courses, whether they're paid or free.
Mhm.
Uh, I wanna have, like, a small team that works with me, and I would love to have a retreat, like, in Mexico. That would be so fun.
What kind of retreat?
It'd be like a wellness retreat with, like different workshops, probably for women, probably like, 10 people, where we would do like meditation in the morning, maybe yoga, have lunches together, maybe do some ceremonies with shamans, stuff like that.
I love it because you know what's gonna happen? You're gonna look back at this video
Mhm.
and you're gonna be like, check, check, check.
Yep.
So that's the business side. What about personally? Where do you see yourself personally in the next few years? What does
Uh,
that part of your world look like?
yeah. Um, I would say since I live in Mexico right now, I'd probably still be living here at least part of the time. Um, I would also like to have a place in the States too. I used to live in Colorado and it's pretty dear to my heart. So I'd love to have a second home there to go back and forth. And I would love to travel to India. That's on my bucket list. So,
Tell me why India?
um, I want to see like the tea gardens. I want to, and I'm into just started getting into Ayurveda. So I
Mm,
want to visit some of the different places where that originated, and I have a few friends there. So it just seems like kind of the next step on a spiritual journey. That Eat, Pray, Love movie kind of comes up, but
so what
yeah.
would you say if you stopped and connected with some of the women in the street in India coming from North America? What tell me about that conversation?
I
I was
would ask,
well,
I would maybe ask them about their like daily routine and habits and what they do to feel connected and, you know, what they think their culture is like compared to the US. Have they ever been to the US? Things like that.
and what type of wisdom could you pay forward to those women? What have you learned that you would like to share with them?
Um, I would love to share like mindset is everything. Your mind is so much more powerful than you think. Um, just using several small daily habits in your life can make a dramatic impact in a short amount of time. Um, Consistency is key. And when motivation stops, that's where discipline kicks in.
Yes, I like that. And it's discipline, not control. And
Mhm.
discipline is, yeah, it's what carries you through those moments where you're like, I don't know, I don't know what to do, where am I going, what am I doing? But if you have your bigger goal, your bigger vision in place, the discipline for sure just it just keeps you floating forward.
Mhm.
Yeah, I love that. So let's see. You could tell your 8-year-old self. How old are you now?
42.
Okay, I knew you were close to my age because I'm 44. So if you were to tell like your 7 or 8-year-old self, what kind of conversation would you have with your younger version? What would you say?
I would say that this next period of your life is going to be hard, but this is where you're going to learn all of the lessons that you need to propel yourself through those 30s and 40s. This is where all the learning is going to take place. And if you can get through this, the rest of your life is going to be a breeze.
Yeah, yeah. And what's the best advice you've received?
One time, my uncle told me when you're approaching a situation, think about what's the worst that can happen. And if you can build an energy around that, um, build kind of like a safety net around that, like, okay, if I move to Mexico and spend all my money, what's the worst that can happen about that? And have a plan in place, then I think when you have a plan in place, that can really decrease your anxiety about things.
I love that. What's the worst that can happen? Because
Mhm.
really, there's so many steps before the actual worst thing.
Yeah.
Your mind, like you said, and your mind is so powerful. It can make or break you. And it's just the stories that you know that you've told yourself, and you get a chance to create new stories. And yeah, I love that. What's the worst that can happen? Very
Mhm.
well. So if you were to do this all over again, would you do anything differently? Or are you exactly where you would be?
Oh, man. If I would have known, like, how hard this was gonna be, I don't know if I would have done it. But at the same time, like, you know that quote, like, "You can't, connect the dots forwards?" Uh, that that hits me a lot when I think about this past year. Um, I think maybe one of the things I would do differently is, um, start my business earlier and start promoting it more, not being afraid.
Mhm.
Um Yeah, I think that's about it. I think I've done things in a good way, and everything has worked out so far. And I think this is where I'm meant to be.
So I asked you at the beginning of our conversation to anchor our conversation with a word, and you said intuition. I'd love for
Mhm.
you to share why you chose that word and what that means to you.
For me, intuition is like listening to that calm inner voice that knows the answers, that's going to push you in the right direction. Um, that's not going to question you.
Mm.
And choosing that for today was, like, I really do feel like I was meant to have this conversation. I was meant to be here. And intuitively, I know that conversations like this do push me and guide me to the next level of where I'm meant to go.
Yeah, and we connected, I want to say within the last couple of months, I say. I'm trying to remember.
Yeah.
And I
Hmm.
instantly had a connection and I was like, let's go, let's do this. And you're right. That has been such a big thing for me to learn as well is respect the mind, but don't let the mind lead. Let the heart, let the intuition guide. And it might literally just start with what am I going to wear today? What am I going to eat today? And creating space for that to expand because then that becomes your barometer. And I
Hmm.
absolutely know that we were meant to have this conversation. There's so many amazing things happening in your world and in my world. and in our entire world. And I'm really excited. I would love to have this conversation again with you, like 6 months or a year from now, and just see where you're at, because like I am on a ride and a half, and I know we're all on a crazy ride. So it'd be really
Yeah.
cool to see the growth trajectory following that. But yeah, I love that you chose the word intuition, because it's so um underrated, because it's such an understated but such a powerful barometer for your success.
Hmm.
Mhm. I'm so honored to have you here today. This has been a really lovely conversation. Thank you.
Yes, thank you.
Is there anything that you'd like to share with our viewers, just to kind of pay forward any wisdom that you'd like to share?
Yeah, I think I touched on this already, but really recognizing the power of your mind is so important. And I think the more we can tune into our inner self, the more we can recognize this. This might look like getting up 5 minutes earlier just to just sit in silence and see what comes up. This could look like, instead of always asking for others' opinions, to just really rely on your own inner wisdom. Um, and for me, this has been helping me a lot. My eating habits and my daily habits have a dramatic impact on how I feel. And reaching these other, like, altered and elevated states of consciousness, keeping these very good daily habits in place has been really vital for me lately. So, yeah, just doing what you need to do to feel good.
Taking care of your house and your home, right? I
Mhm.
really feel you on the eating piece, because the cleaner your home, the cleaner your vessel, the cleaner it's like, you clean your home, you feel really good. When you clean your body, you feel really good. So I totally.
Yes. Mhm.
So I actually forgot to ask you this before. Do you have anything that you'd like to share as like a gift, or like a pay it forward, how people can connect into your world?
Yeah. So I have a couple ways to connect with me. I have a Facebook group. It's
Mhm.
called High Vibration Healing. That's on Facebook. I share a lot of like motivational quotes, tips, personal stories, and then I invite others to share their experiences. If they need to vent, they have questions, and then I'll be offering some free workshops in there. I also have like a Google Drive that I'm developing with a bunch of different resources. So if you end up wanting access to that, you can reach out to me on Facebook. My name on Facebook is Crystal Vegas, and my business Facebook is Conscious Creation Healing and Coaching. My Instagram is Conscious Creation Healing. So those are a couple ways, and I offer free discovery calls. And like I said, in my Facebook group, I'll be doing free workshops as well.
Awesome. And I'll make sure to tag all of this in the bottom, so don't worry about having to write it all.
Yeah.
And you can also connect into Christalle as well through my Facebook group, because I think we're going to be doing some master classes in there as well. So I'm really excited. And yeah, this has been lovely. Thank you so much for sharing this beautiful connection. I have really embraced the power of connection in a very different way than when I was in corporate, because corporate, it was very transactional. What are you going to
Mm.
do for me? And as much as I loved and wanted to help people, there was that underlying current. And it's such a different vibration for me when you take away that attachment and you just really genuinely connect. And it's such a beautiful, heart filling experience that you can't really describe until you're in it. And it brings such a level of like nourishing and enrichment and slowing down and presence and really joy to your life. And so, for any woman that's listening that's in corporate, or it's in a very hustle, super busy place, hopefully you've had a chance to kind of slow down and sink into this conversation, because I probably wouldn't have been able to have this conversation 10 years ago, because I would have had 75 balls in the air. And this is
Mhm.
a beautiful gift for me. So thank you so much for that.
Thank you so much for having me. It was
Thank
a pleasure.
I love your energy.
You too.
All right, my dear, you have a lovely day. Bye, everybody, and we will see you soon.
Thank you.